Hi guys, welcome back to the Baseline. Thank you so much for joining me. Hope you guys are having a good day, good night, great life. So imagine this, guys. You wake up one morning and the price of your milk has just doubled. Your mortgage payment looks the same, but the grocery bill feels like, well, rent. Now, you scroll through the listings just to feel normal again, but even the cheap homes look like bad jokes with 6 zeros on them. And that's not a foreign film that we're talking about. That's the early trailer for what happens when the dollar starts dying quietly right under your roof. Because if history has taught us anything, which sometimes it seems like it doesn't, but it's this, right? When a currency collapses, housing becomes both the shelter and the battlefield. Because people don't stop needing homes. They just start fighting for them with money that means less every day. Now, right now, the United States owes $37 trillion. Interest payments on that debt have officially surpassed our military budget. And that's before the next election spending spree comes. So when governments reach this point, they don't tighten belts. They end up printing more money. And printing money always shows up first in real estate. And here's why this matters. Because your house, your mortgage, your rent, every piece of your life is somehow tied to shelter. And shelter becomes ground zero in an inflation war. Now, when a dollar buys less, the walls around you start buying your freedom. Landlords raise rents, property taxes surge, construction costs end up exploding, and the people who hold the debt, the ones who owe hundreds of thousands of dollars, start looking like the lucky ones. Now, during hyperinflation, debt ends up melting, right? And if you owe $300,000 on your house and the dollar loses half of its value, you're effectively paying it back with monopoly money. Now, meanwhile, your neighbor with a paid off house, their quote unquote asset might double on paper, but in real terms, in actual terms, it still buys less food, less safety, and less of a future. Now, in collapse economies, leverage quietly replaces cash as the real currency. And that's exactly what happened in Weimar Germany in 1923. Mortgages vanished overnight. People who owed fortunes paid them off with worthless notes. In Zimbabwe, 2008, it's the same playbook. The poor lost savings. The debtors lost nothing. And Argentina, every few years, their currency collapses. And foreign investors sweep in with dollars to buy up local housing at fire sale prices. Now, the pattern doesn't change, only the flag does. So try to think of it like this. The dollar is the foundation your home actually sits on. If the foundation cracks, your house might still look fine, but every nail and beam is starting to strain. And when that crack ends up widening, the first thing that falls isn't the roof. It's affordability as far as we're concerned. Now, I've spoken with a lot of homeowners who've refinanced in 2021 at 3%. And they're not worried about rates. They're worried about reality. Because if inflation hits double digits, they're technically winning, paying with cheaper money, but in the real world, their property taxes, their insurance, groceries, repairs, all of this stuff, all of it has doubled. And that's not wealth. That's survival disguised as luck. And here's the hidden manipulation no one likes to admit. The Fed doesn't fight inflation by saving the dollar. It fights it by sacrificing housing. They raise rates, crush mortgage demand, freeze builders, and slow the sales. Not to fix prices, but to keep the system's illusion of control alive. Now, meanwhile, hedge funds and private equity, they scoop up homes from distressed sellers, paying cash while everyone else panics about borrowing costs. So when the dollar burns, the system doesn't collapse. It actually consolidates. It's like watching your landlord set your apartment on fire, then hand you a lease renewal saying, see, I kept it warm for you. Now, people joke that that real estate always goes up. And some people are serious about that too. I mean, it can be argued, right? But it's kind of like in the same way your hospital bill goes up after an accident. It's not necessarily good news. It's proof of how broken the system has become. That's why you see retirees cashing out equity just to survive in 2025. Now, people who own their homes outright are not borrowing against them to afford groceries, which is probably good, right? But here's the tragic irony. The same inflation that eats the dollar also eats the dream of owning a home without fear. Homeownership was supposed to mean stability. Now, it's just a race to stay solvent at this point, right? So what actually happens when the dollar dies? And that ends up being a really big question and a good one, because housing doesn't disappear. It just changes hands. Debt becomes power, cash becomes confetti, and the people who prepared, who locked in fixed rates, kept liquidity, and learned to think like builders, not just buyers, become the new backbone of the economy that comes next. Because the real question isn't if the dollar weakens, it's who America lets profit from it. So, will it be homeowners who learn the system, or the institutions buying their panic on wholesale? And that's the story the next cycle will end up telling, right? And luckily, you guys are already seeing it play out in front of you right now. All right. Do I have this all right? Do I have it all wrong, guys? Let me know in the comment section below. I read and reply to all the comments, and your opinion is important to me. So I look forward to reading and seeing what everybody has to say. And thank you guys again for watching me here on The Baseline. Okay, cheers, everybody.